What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and welcome to another episode of The Recap as I catch you up on some of the latest entertainment news that you might have missed out on last week. We've got a number of things that are happening that we gotta go over. There are some new movies that are dropping early on digital on demand. You also have a reboot to an old school classic. There's some Captain Marvel news that we absolutely need to cover. Then, of course, I'm going to break down all the news with the biggest thing that happened, which was Disney releasing Mulan early on Disney+. I'll cover that, I'll break it down, and let you know a couple things you might not have heard about. All that coming up next. First up, Knight Rider is actually going to get a reboot, and it is going to be coming from producer James Wan, who is basically the horror master of today's world. You might remember James Wan from Insidious, Saw, the Conjuring movies, and Aquaman. But yeah, he is producing, unfortunately not directing, the brand new Knight Rider reboot. And what's interesting about this is, well, I'm kind of wondering, like, what are they going to do with this? We don't really know what's going to happen with the script or what the story is going to be about. Maybe they'll start from scratch and just, retell it from the very beginning. But I remember watching this when I was younger. I never really knew what was going on because I was really young at the time. But I do remember Kit, the car, was pretty dope at the time. And I'm just curious now, what type of upgrades are they going to give them? Because, nowadays, it was one thing back in like the 80s, early 90s to do futuristic scientific stuff. But like, we have cars now that are kind of sort of smart cars. I mean, how vastly advanced is Kit really going to be? And I think that right there is going to be the biggest draw as to whether or not I'm going to be interested in this. And seeing this, because if I recall, the TV reboot for Knight Rider didn't do too well. So I don't know if there's going to be that much interest in it, which means, in my opinion, you're going to have to do a little bit more than just try and bank off of the namesake and hope that people just remember and will go watch this new reboot movie. So they're going to have to drop something just mind-blowing, I think, besides the car talking to you or whatever. And I also wonder, is the Hoff coming? Is David Hasselhoff going to be involved in some way, shape, or form? Maybe he's like the handler. Maybe he's a bad guy one day. I don't know. But I'm curious, are you interested in a Knight Rider reboot movie? I know we get real tired of reboots, but, this one has been a while, so maybe it's interesting, but I want to know, what do you think, and what's going to make you more interested in watching a Knight Rider flick? Next up, we have Janelle Monáe's new horror movie, Antebellum, that has also been announced to drop early on digital. That will be coming out September 18th. And from what I understand, it's like a time-traveling horror story of a black woman going back and being caught up in slavery times. Man, look, I don't know. I'm already kind of iffy when it comes to slavery movies because Hollywood has like a terrible history with how they depict it, and I would argue exploit it. And I think going to digital is probably a good thing to do anyway. Especially for horror movies. Like, horror movies don't typically do that well in theaters in the first place. So, given the pandemic and given, the current state of affairs, this probably would be the best place for it to go. But, maybe this is going to be an indication for, future movies from studios to just drop some movies early on digital because this pandemic, look, it's August, and supposedly, what was it, back in May, we thought we was going to be cool in August, and then, wait for the second wave. I don't even think we got the first wave yet, so there's a lot going on, and from the way things are looking right now, it seems like this is going to just be the trend for a while, so I would not be surprised if we start seeing more movies just dropping on digital, and that could just be the new trend. Moving on to some more exciting news, Lionsgate has actually announced that John Wick 4 and 5 are going to be shot back to back. That's right, John Wick 5 is going to be a thing. And I like the fact that they're shooting it back to back. Kind of like Infinity War and Endgame, how they shot each other, back to back. Because one, it maximizes the amount of time that the actors have to actually shoot things. Because, sometimes actors might get caught up in other projects and then things get delayed for forever. Then maybe they get too old or they get too sick or they can't do it anymore or whatever. So I'm totally fine with movie studios deciding to shoot things back to back. Because one, we're guaranteed to actually get the next installment. And two, there's a possibility that we'll actually get the movie a little bit sooner, because John Wick 4 might have came out, I think it's scheduled to come out May 27th of 2021. So if it wasn't being shot back to back, who knows? Maybe John Wick 5 wouldn't come about for like another 4 or 5 years. But if they shoot it back to back, maybe we get it, like May 2022 or something like that. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for it. The other interesting takeaway from this is, if we know John Wick 4 and John Wick 5 are being shot back to back, it kind of already lets us know that there's going to be a stupidly ridiculous cliffhanger at the end of John Wick 4 that's going to leave us hanging and waiting for more. So at least now I guess we could prep for it. We know it's coming. I'm just excited. I love the John Wick series. I'm hoping that maybe part 5 is the last one, because the last thing I want is for them to start milking the franchise and just going overboard with it. Like certain franchises that have cars and drive fast and furiously. Anyway, how are you feeling about this news with John Wick 4 and 5 being shot back to back? Does that excite you for the upcoming films? Or are you kind of afraid that maybe they're going to milk it? Let me know what you think. Now, going into the Marvel realm, Captain Marvel 2 has just found its new director, and that is going to come from Nia DaCosta. If you don't know who Nia DaCosta is, that's because most of us haven't been introduced to her yet, because she's also the director of the new Candyman movie that's supposed to be coming out later this year. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see what she's going to end up doing with Captain Marvel 2. Now, personally, this was like one of the biggest things I was looking forward to in a Captain Marvel sequel. A new director and some new writers, because the last ones didn't cut it. Sorry, it just wasn't the best thing that they put out there. It had so much room to be better, and I'm just hopeful with some new insight, some new direction, and some new perspectives, Captain Marvel 2 can actually be a lot better than what we got with Captain Marvel 1. So I'm just happy that there's a change of guard with the direction of the film. So I don't know if it's going to be better or worse. I just needed something different, because what we had before was not working. Okay, so now moving on to the big news of the week. Mulan is coming to Disney Plus a whole lot earlier than expected. Disney CEO Bob Chapek said that Mulan will premiere on Disney Plus on a quote-unquote premiere access basis on September 4th for $29.99. $29.99, $30. What is Disney smoking? Disney's on some stuff. $30 for Mulan? Look, now if this was Infinity War, if this was Endgame, if this was Black Widow, okay, cool. I can see that. $30 for Mulan? I don't know. Not for me. Not for me. That's a little stiff for me. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't even that interested in the live action Mulan, because this one is going to be clearly a little bit more mature. It's going to be more serious. They don't have Mushu, the little dragon, in there. It's just, I don't really know if that's going to have the same appeal that the cartoon had. And let's be honest, the Mulan cartoon, it wasn't it wasn't a Beauty and the Beast. It was no Aladdin. It was no Lion King. So I just didn't really know if that interest was really going to be there or not. Matter of fact, I ran a poll on E-Man's Movie Reviews Facebook fan page, which you should absolutely go follow. And the majority of people, I want to say around like 4,000 people chimed in. Only 14% said that they were going to be willing to actually pay the $29.99 to see Mulan. Then I saw another poll from comicbook.com. They did the same thing and the same results happened. And then I went to an even bigger poll from Variety where I want to say about over 80,000 some odd people had chimed in. And it was still that 14%, only 14% of people said that they were okay with actually watching and paying that money for Mulan. Now, I do want to do a little number crunching, right? Just for fun. With that 14% of people that said that they're willing to buy it, it was recently announced that Disney Plus has now I'm going to say they have about 60 million subscribers, right? So if only 14% of that 60 million participate, you're talking about 8.4 million people. Yes, I did that math in my head. No, I didn't. I did it beforehand. But anyway, so you got about 8.4 million people, subscribers, that are willing to pay $30 to watch Mulan. If you multiply 8.4, times the 30, you're going to have about $251 million in terms of that money that is going to be earned for Mulan. Now check this out though. I looked up the budget for Mulan. It cost Disney $200 million just to make Mulan. So if it costs you $200 million to make, and you potentially will only be making about $250, that's not good even if theaters were out and about. Because movies, in terms of judging to be like a profitable success, usually need to make about 2.5 times what it costs to make. That's the expectation. If I put a movie in for $100 million, I better make at least like 300 million, bare minimum, for me to consider that a success, to consider the time invested and the money invested to be worth it, to get that return on your investment. Now, here's what you need to know. That $29.99 is not going to be a rental fee. Disney has already come out and said that when you pay for Mulan, you will keep it for the duration of your subscription on Disney Plus. So, that does kind of sort of change things a little bit, but it kind of doesn't, because my thing is this. How long are we going to have to wait before Mulan is free? And I think that time period is going to be essential in, putting a sense of value on this movie. Because, for example, if you sit here and tell me that I have to pay $30 to watch Mulan, but you're about to give it to me for free on Disney Plus that I already pay for, and you're going to give it to me in like the next month, I'm not paying no $30 for that. I'll wait. It'll be fine. First of all, I might not even watch it, but I'm going to wait, Now, if you were to sit here and tell me like, hey, it's $30 now because you're not going to get it for like another 3 months, kind of like how the old school waiting period was when a movie hits theaters between, by the time it hits the DVD. Now, if you tell me 90 days, heck, even if you were to say like, it's not going to be free for 6 months, basically, the longer you make it before it's available for free on Disney Plus, now you can justify, I think, the $30 price tag. Because right now, it ain't looking all that appealing. Now, here's the other thing, though. With Disney dropping Mulan early, the natural question that is followed up by everybody is, but what about Black Widow, right? Now, Disney came out and said, well, the thing with Mulan coming to digital early, it's a one-time thing. He said a one-time event, right? So that to me is just code, as in saying, if it works and we make some money, yeah, Black Widow will be next. I think that's all it is. Because money talks. Look, if this pandemic had anybody foreseen that it was going to take this long before the coast was clear in the U.S., a whole lot of other movies, I think, would have been dropped on digital a long time ago. But because things are still being stretched out and we're still under quarantine of some sort, depending on where you are, it's not working out the way people originally intended. So I personally think the longer we kind of keep playing around with this whole COVID thing, and the more money Disney is losing, because keep in mind, with the longer the pandemic goes on, Disney can't make as much money with their theme parks, and they're definitely not making a lot of money with their movies and stuff now. So it could be that, hey, we just got to drop Black Widow, and we're going to have to put it at that $30 price point, and we just going to have to rock with whatever we can get from it and take it up, take the loss or take the hit or whatever. So I at this point, I wouldn't say that Black Widow is definitely going to come on to digital anytime soon, but I will say that right now, because of the unknown factors with the pandemic, and if Mulan can be very successful, like if they do make more than $250 million, maybe that'll convince Disney to be like, okay, maybe this is our new thing. Maybe this is the new normal. So, what do you think about Mulan coming to digital early? Do you think it's going to impact Black Widow? And more importantly, are you willing to pay? Are you one of those 14% that are willing to actually pay the $30 to watch Mulan and own it on Disney Plus? I'm very curious to know where everybody falls on this. Just let me know what you think in the comments down below. Before I go, I did want to just share some quick thoughts about two movies that I had seen. One of them was the Deathstroke, the DC animated movie. It was Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons, I think it was called. So I didn't really think I was going to do like a full review on it. So I did want to at least give you some quick thoughts. And then I'll do the other movie next. So basically, action was cool. Extremely violent. They had Slade Wilson on there like he was a swordsman from some anime or something. Like he was just slicing people up, leaving body parts everywhere. It was violent. Like that was a violent movie. If you've seen the Mortal Kombat movie that recently came out, Scorpion's Legend or whatnot, it's a very similar level of violence and very, very mature content. The story is fine. It does give you kind of like a prequel into Deathstroke's background, and they're kind of making him more into like the anti-hero. I don't know if he's I think he's more of an anti-villain, like he still does bad things, but he has a heart, whatever. But the one thing I would say that is a knock against this movie is this has got to be the first DC animated movie I've ever seen where the animation was horrible. I mean, terrible. It was bad. This thing looked like it came off of a Nickelodeon production line. Like, I'm sitting here like, y'all just really gonna draw these people like that? Like, did the budget run out? Like, everything was there. Like, y'all couldn't draw a couple more lines and just... It's bad. But you get used to it, obviously, after 30 minutes in, because it's not something that you're used to compared to all the other DC animated movies that we've seen. But whatever, take it or leave it. I still think it was a decent movie. I still think it's worth the watch. It's not their best. It's not their worst, except in the animation department, in my opinion. But if you have seen Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons, let me know what you thought about it. I am curious. I believe it will be coming to DVD a little bit sooner. I'm not sure. I know it's going to be coming out in like the next couple weeks or months. But it is available, like if you were to buy it online, like through Amazon Prime or some other, streaming platform, you can get it that way. The other movie that I wanted to quickly talk about is The Tax Collector. This was the Shia LaBeouf movie that really isn't a Shia LaBeouf movie. The advertising is out there all day, like, oh man, look at Shia LaBeouf. We actually covered it on the recap not too long ago because Shia LaBeouf, like, literally, you know, tattooed up his chest and he was cutting up his face and just doing all this extreme method acting stuff. And, you know, I was saying, like, yo, I hope he's doing all this for, like, a role that's about to get him, like, an Academy Award or something, because that's some extreme method acting. Yeah, not in this movie. Definitely not gonna happen. This man is a supporting actor in this film. Not to say that he's not, you know, important or whatever, but this ain't his movie, you know. And look, the version that I was able to see did not have all the subtitles and stuff, especially for the Spanish speaking scenes. So I'm sitting here like missing out on 35% of the dialogue that's going on. So, you know, the story just was kind of flat. Not so much predictable, but the action is decent. You know, David Ayer, the director, he does do a pretty good job with action scenes. There's like this one gruesome scene where they do something to somebody's face, and it's very cringy. Had my man looking like Two-Face from Batman. But you know, I will say that I'm a little disappointed, you know, in it, just because David Ayer is better than this. I mean, he's done better with Street Kings. He's done better with End of Watch. So, you know, he can do the nitty gritty gang warfare, you know, on the street level type of movies. But this felt remedial compared to what he normally does. So I wouldn't make this a strong recommendation. If you were to watch The Tax Collector, I'd say you wait until that is free to watch. It is not something you have to watch. I think that even if you watch it, you'll forget it. So that's just my quick take on those two films. If you have seen either one of them, let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. Anyway, that's all the time I got for today. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join me. By the way, stay tuned. I've got a very interesting interview coming up that you don't want to miss out. Just stay tuned. I'm not even gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil. No, I take that back. I'll give you a hint. It's got to do with a pill. Just a pill. Taking a pill. But anyway, I got more videos and reviews to do for you all. Until next time, I'll see you all later.